I'm constructing a time machine to take me back to the past so I can book my cruise at a lower price.
You really sure about this?
At this point, it's the only way. But don't worry, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Well, yeah, that's kind of self-explanatory. It's a cruise. It's in water.
Also, if my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious.
He's a TA and he's gonna talk. Let's join Matt for today's TA Talk.
Hey, happy travelers, and welcome back to the home office for this week's installment of the TA Talk, where today's topic is going to be all about what I consider to be the biggest mistake I repeatedly see people making when booking their cruise, and it oftentimes leads them to a situation where they wish they were like Doc Brown and they could invent that time machine to go back to the past so that they could fix their mistake. And that mistake is waiting to book your cruise. Now, a lot of times people want to wait to book their cruise, not even because they don't have the money, because obviously a lot of times if you're booking far enough out in advance, you typically only have to pay the deposit amount, and then you can make payments along the way, or you can save up along the way and pay off at the final payment date. Depending on the cruise line, that might be 90 days before sailing, 120 days before sailing. But it's oftentimes not that reason that people want to wait. It's because they're hopeful that the price of the cruise will drop. Either some new sale will start, a new promotion, or just in general, the numbers will come down, and thus they will not have to pay as much for their cruise. But there's a few reasons why that actually ends up most of the time being a big mistake. Number one, first and foremost, being that prices of cruises tend to rise over time. The longer you go on, the higher the price of the cruise will be. Now, that's not always the case, as I mentioned back in the TA Talk where I discussed us being travel agents and the benefit of using a travel agent. I mentioned how we have that value tracker that will track the price of your cruise, and if the prices come down, we adjust it and send you the confirmation email that's updated. And that does happen sometimes. But overall, generally speaking, from my experience, 7 years now being a travel agent, what I'm seeing, especially lately, is that prices of cruises tend to rise over time. Thus, if you wait, you are likely going to have a higher number by the time you actually decide to book. In addition, while the prices are going up, the available inventory is going down. So you're going to have fewer options to choose from. You'll really have to kind of put yourself into a box or be very flexible with your stateroom category, your stateroom location. A lot of times I've seen it where people really get themselves in a pickle because they run out of stateroom categories that can accommodate their party size, or even the kind of room they were looking for sells out. So you really have to be cautious with that because, again, the prices, you're looking out because those are going up over time. The inventory is going down as more and more people book. You have less options to choose from for yourself. Now, of course, there are always outliers. A lot of people like to wait till the last minute. They think there's going to be a last minute deal, and I don't find that to be as often as people think it would be the case, especially with the advent of things like Royal Up, which I talked about in another TA Talk episode, or similar cruise line bidding programs for stateroom category upgrades. You tend to not see those as often, I feel like. Now, there are certain programs, for example, Royal Caribbean does have like going, gone sales, where you will see those prices for last minute cruises a little bit lower. The issue with that, though, is that you really have to be flexible to take advantage of those because they're only on certain sailings, only for certain categories, things of that nature. And oftentimes, those prices are not lower than what the cruise started out as or may have been selling at for the first few months or however long the time period was. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes, I'm sure there will be people watching this who say, well, I waited and I got a really good deal. It can happen, but majorly speaking, the prices tend to rise over time, the inventory decreases, and you're worse off for having waited to book instead of jumping on it when you first had the chance. Now, what I oftentimes find people doing is the reason that they're weighing if they should book now or they're wanting to wait, even if they're not trying to hold out for a last minute deal, is they are afraid that if they book now, the prices will go down right after it, or there'll be a Black Friday sale or something like that, and they want to hold off and see if one of those comes up. I caution you not to do that. Take Royal Caribbean, for example. Again, that's who we work the most with, so I like to use them a lot. Their prices can change. They do fluctuate. They can go up and down. There are different promotions, different sales, things like that. But as I mentioned, we have the value tracker to keep track of the pricing of your cruise. And as long as you're before the final payment date, If the price of your cruise goes down, you can adjust your booking and get that new lower price. So for example, if you booked at $3,000 and then a massive sale came along and your cruise dropped down to $2,750, the price of that cruise that you're booked on, we can adjust it. We can change your booking to $2,750. Again, as long as it's before the final payment date. They don't allow those alterations after that point. But if it's before, we can make that change for you and you get those savings. So it's basically like free insurance. The earlier on you book, you know you're going to get at least that price. If the prices go up down the road, which they usually do, it doesn't matter because you booked already. You booked earlier and got that lower price. Should the prices come down, we can adjust it, and there you go. You've got the lower price either way. So there's really no incentive to wait. And that's with cruise lines that do fluctuate pricing. Some of them really don't. Like Disney Cruise Line, for example, does not fluctuate their rates too much really at all. So there's really no incentive to do that. So I think it's just the best decision you can make is to book as early as possible. Of course, you need to be in the financial situation to be able to afford that deposit and not put a strain on yourself. But if you can do so, I do not recommend just waiting to see what those cruise prices do. Go ahead and book. If they go down, we'll adjust it. You'll be good to go. And just to give some like hard, fast examples here of what I'm talking about, I looked at 3 cruises with Royal Caribbean that we personally have coming up, that we are already booked on, have been booked on for a month or two or several months or a long time, depending on which one it is. And just to give you an example of what I'm talking about here. For the first cruise, over $500, the price of our cruise went up. Now I'm talking the same exact sailing date, same ship, same room category, same occupancy, everything. Nothing actually changed, just the pricing of the cruise. So again, over a 3-month period from when we booked that cruise to now 3 months later, it is currently pricing out at over $500 more than when we booked. So had we waited, we would now be paying $500 more. For example, number 2, not so much on the pricing end of things, but the other point I talked about, the limited availability. We have a category booked on this sailing, very specific, that we really, really wanted, which you'll find out why down the road when we actually do that cruise and film it. But that category is now sold out. So had we waited to book the cruise, we might have missed out. Now, yes, maybe we could have booked something different, a different kind of room category. The whole cruise isn't sold out, but that category is, so we would have missed out on it by waiting. And for the third and final example, this is my favorite one, and I'll actually tell you which one this is because this is out there that we're going on it. Icon of the Seas, the newest ship in Royal Caribbean's fleet. We are on the inaugural sailing, and we booked this right when it opened, or at least when we should have been able to. There was a whole kerfuffle. It doesn't matter, but the day that Icon of the Seas went on sale, we booked it. And since then, since that date, which I forget exactly when it was, until now, when I'm recording this video of May 25th of 2023, the price of our room category has increased over $6,200. And I will tell you that our cruise price is in the $7,000 range. So it almost doubled in price. Ridiculous. Now, of course, that's a little bit of an outlier because it is an inaugural sailing. It is the brand new ship, brand new class of ship. People are very, very excited about it. But all the same, could you imagine if you said, oh, I really want to go on the inaugural of Icon. Hey, Matt, how much is it? Do email. I like email. Hey, Matt, how much is it? And I said, oh, you can get this for $7,000 or $7,500. And you say, ooh, that's steep, which it was, by the way. That is not, I'm not trying to say that was a good price, but all the same. And you went, oh, I think we'll wait. We'll wait. Let's see if it goes on sale. Let's see if there's a this, that, or the other kind of promotion. And now you came back and emailed me again. I would have to tell you it's almost double. So really be aware of that. Really think about things. Now, of course, I do need to end with kind of like the blanket statement of this is not going to apply to every cruise line, blah, blah, blah. I know certain cruise lines that we have personally stopped working with will not allow you to adjust your pricing. But the ones I'm talking about, like I said, Royal Caribbean, for example, Carnival's usually pretty good about that. Norwegian's usually pretty good about that. Disney would be if they ever changed their prices. But that's the kind of thing. Again, in terms of booking, the majority of what we do is Royal Caribbean, so I kind of talk from a slant of that nature. But just keep that in mind. Book as early as possible. You know you've got that. If the prices go up, you're not subject to that. You got the lower rate. If the prices go down, you can adjust the rate of your booking up until the final payment date. And with today's topic completely covered, we're going to move on to my favorite segment, our reoccurring segment here on the TA Talk, the mailbag with Mr. Potato Head Spider-Man swinging in with this week's questions and inquiries. Feel free to leave those on the various channels that we provide either here on YouTube or on Instagram. Send your questions to us that might get answered in a future TA Talk video. And if you have any suggestions for topics you would like to see covered in a TA Talk video, please feel free to leave those as well. All right, jumbled them up. Here we go. Random pull. Let's see. We're going to start here with question number 1. This is from YouTube, from Doc2W. What are the chances it was Doc? I always tell the truth, and I promise you that was not planned. I mean, these always are a random pull, but wow. Doc! Doc2W says, love the banker's lamp in the background. Classic. Oh, thank you so much. I do love this lamp. Chelsy got that for me when she redid the home office. She did a magnificent job, don't you think? Question number 2. Or it could be a statement. The last one was a statement, not a question. The way this one is folded up. Okay, this is from YouTube. Ethan Cole. How is it at the start of becoming a TA, a travel agent, of course? And it can be quite rough. But the good news is I covered this in detail, at least our personal story of starting out as a travel agent. So go back and watch episode 1 of the TA Talk where you get the full spiel. All right, I usually do 3, but these have gone pretty quick. Let's see. We'll see how this one is and see if we do another one. This may or may not. I dropped one. Okay, well, there you go. I think that tells us we have to do both, right? That's just how it goes. All right, I'm gonna do the one I didn't drop first. Okay, this one is a square, so this is from Instagram, from Mrs._in with a big underscore. How did you become a travel agent? Is it a good side hustle option? So again, I covered this in full detail on the TA Talk episode 1, so be sure to go back and check that out where I discussed how we became travel agents. I might do another TA Talk in the future where I really dive in deep into becoming a travel agent. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet or not. But to kind of just briefly answer your second question there, is it a good side hustle option? I'm sure there are people who do that. For us, it was yes and no. It was okay to do it as a side thing while we were still working our regular jobs. I think that's kind of the way to look at it, is it's a good thing to do on the side as you're starting up. Like you were working your regular job or jobs, in our case, to support yourself financially while you're building up your client base. But I don't feel like you can be... I don't want to say you can't be successful, but I would find it very challenging to be very successful as a travel agent if you're treating it purely as a side hustle, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Even if it's obviously not physically laborious, it is mental. You're keeping up with things. You're always reaching out to people. You're always having to look out things. I mentioned it in that TA Talk 1 that I've worked more doing this job by far than any other job I've ever had. So is it a good side hustle? And my personal answer would probably be not really. I think it's okay to do it on the side, again, as you're starting up and support yourself financially other ways, but I would take it very seriously and treat it as a full-time job from the beginning. All right, last question, the one that popped out there and dropped on the floor. This is from PNW and Palapus on YouTube. Is there any type of travel arrangements that are out of scope? And when do TAs generally charge for their services? Okay, so good question. I don't know if I fully understand the first question. I'm guessing you're asking, like, is there any kind of travel that, we don't cover, travel agents can't cover? I'm sure there is a travel agent somewhere who can cover just about anything. I know for us, we have made the decision because of our growing business and our work efforts, the time it takes to kind of consolidate down to where we only do sandals and beaches for all-inclusive resorts, and then we only book cruises, specifically Royal Caribbean, Disney Cruise Line, Celebrity, we do a lot of. We also do a little bit of Norwegian, Virgin Voyages, and Carnival, and we'll see how that goes in the future, but those are our big ones. So we've kind of focused in on that, but I'm sure if you have something else, there's probably someone out there who could assist with that. And for the second question, when do TAs usually charge for their services? Well, I can't speak for everyone, I can speak for ourselves. As I always say in every video, we do not charge anything whatsoever. No fees, no costs, no charges. You never pay us a single cent. Period. End of story. Goodbye. The end. Any questions? A little Mad Eye Moody there for you. But we just made the decision not to do that. We didn't want to ever have to charge for anything. We like the idea of it being free to you. It works out for everyone, that sort of thing. I do know other travel agents may charge a booking fee just to make sure that you're not wasting their time pricing out things. I know some charge a cancellation fee so they don't feel like their time was wasted should you cancel. I don't know what other kind of fees or costs they would have. I can just tell you with us, it is nothing. So why wouldn't you book? All right, friends, that is going to do it for this installment of the TA Talk. As always, I want to thank you for joining me here in the home office, and I can't wait to see you for the next one. I'll remind you, please leave your questions, inquiries in the comments section or any topics you'd like to see covered in a future TA Talk video. I would love to go over those. And if you're interested in booking your own travels via those vendors I mentioned earlier, please feel free to reach out via travel agent information. You can find it in the description of this video. We would love to assist you. But with that said, I'm going to sign off for today's video. I will see you in the next TA Talk. But until then, happy travels. Da 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 da.